Hello, everyone. The person I'm debating is having some technical difficulties, so I'm trying to work that out with him really quick. Um, just give me a sec here. So just give me a couple seconds here, guys, because apparently the person who I'm debating, their browser didn't support StreamYard. So we're just gonna wait a couple minutes because they're working it out. It's nothing to do with StreamYard. It's just we're just gonna wait for a couple. So in the meantime, for those of you who don't know, today's debate is going to be on presidents and war crimes, and I will be the resolution is it's in the description of the video, but the resolution is can someone be a good president and a war criminal? So that's the debate. I will be taking the no on that. The person I'm debating will be taking the yes on that. So we just gotta wait a second because they're down because they were on Safari apparently. They were on Safari apparently. Apparently Safari doesn't support StreamYard. I don't know why. Here we go.
Oh, what's up?
Hello, Jalen. Welcome to the Socialist Type House YouTube.
Yeah, I just decided to use my phone.
That probably seems like a good idea. Okay, everyone. So this is Jalen. He's going to be debating today. Jalen, just a little bit of ground rules. We're going to be, I'd say, debating for about 50 minutes, and then I think we'll do about a 10-minute Q&A towards the end with the audience. Audience, as per usual, make sure you ask actual questions. Don't just have them be blanket statements. Otherwise, I will not display them on the screen. Today's resolution is: can a person be a good president and a war criminal? And with that being said, Jalen, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, Jalen, you are the guest here, so I'll let you go first with your opening statements.
I believe a president can still be a good president, but you also gotta still say that they are a war criminal. You can't let that go, but you can still say they're still a good president.
Okay. So my position on this is it basically goes like this. What makes America recent survey was taken. It was actually displayed on Fox News of all places, and it asked the people around the world who they thought the biggest threat to world peace was, and 46% of the respondents in that survey said America, and that was at least 20 percentage points higher than the next closest country. And what makes America so dangerous to the rest of the world is this idea of American exceptionalism, the idea that because we are America, we are inherently more moral, more righteous, and just a better country than other countries that we consider lesser. And when we talk about American exceptionalism and the dangers of it, a lot of it has to do with how we treat and how we view ourselves on the world stage. And part of what happens on the world stage is people we don't like, we call them war criminals, we call them ruthless dictators, but then we do not apply those same standards to us. And American imperialism stems from American exceptionalism. And a president, in the most literal sense, a president is the president of their own nation. But critical thinking suggests that a president in America, because of our industrialization, because of our place on the world stage, what our president does affects more than just the people in our country. And when we're talking about can a president be a good president and a war criminal, I believe the answer is no, because inherently when you are a war criminal, you have waged war on another country. And when it comes to America, those wars are usually unjust. So while a president may have benefited their country with domestic policies, economic and socially, if they are a war criminal, if they have committed actions that would put them on the same level of past war criminals who have been convicted, they cannot be a good president because inherently their actions have destroyed lives around the world and continued the reckless trend of American imperialism.
Well, it sounds like you're saying like they're a bad like world leader, not like a bad president of the United States.
Well, the president inherently is a world leader.
Yeah, but actually being a leader on a world stage, on a global stage, you're saying they're bad at that. But what about here in America?
Sure. So a president can have, like I said, good domestic policies. Like LBJ started the Great Society. Obama, while I don't agree, don't really like the ACA, it did help 20 million people get health insurance. But at the same time, this trend of American imperialism has destabilized nations, destabilized entire regions around the world. And when you take that into account, when we're talking about good is obviously a subjective and relative thing. But I would argue that the most basic definition of good, especially when it comes for a leader of a country, is did they provide a net positive for society? Did their actions and policies provide a net positive for society? And when we're talking about whether a president is good, even if they're a war criminal, the fact of the matter is they have destroyed lives around the world and destroyed countries around the world. So even if their domestic policies were good, in the sense that they provided a net positive for their country, if they are a war criminal, that inherently means that they have dragged down the rest of the world to the point where they have destabilized other countries. And not only that, war destabilizes our country.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about whether a president can be good and a war criminal, I just believe the answer is adamantly no, even if they have done good things around the world, or for us rather.
Or how many people have they had a positive effect on compared to how many people they have had?
So I think that I don't like to use numbers when it comes to like 20 million people with the ACA versus like however many people. I think it's more about just our actions and the impact it's left and how the world views us. Because, like I said, a lot of the world views us as the biggest threat to world peace. And world peace should ultimately be the end goal, right? We should strive for a world where we are peaceful, where there aren't wars to be fought, where we don't have to have military bases in every single country.
Yeah, and like a utopia, but
well, the problem is that
reality,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh no, I'm fine.
Okay, so I guess my first point would be that pretty much. So first of all,
saying, yeah, like utopia, but in reality, that's not real life.
Yeah, just
there will probably never be world peace.
Right. I mean, so when we're talking about so I think also your connection might be cutting in and out. Here. Your connection is kind of bad right now. Here, Jalen, if you can hear me, try leaving the stream on your own and then coming back. And if you're on your phone, maybe go to data or choose a different Wi-Fi network. Here, so I'm going to try kicking you from the studio. Let's see if they come back. Otherwise, this might have been a short debate. Okay. Is that better?
Oh, everything fine?
Yeah, I think so. What are you on a Wi-Fi network or are you on data?
Yeah.
Okay, are you on like data? Or are you on your Wi-Fi network?
Oh, I'm on my internet on Wi-Fi.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it's just your connection's kind of like laggy, but we'll make it work. Maybe try turning off your camera. That tends to help with connection. Like turn off your camera for the stream, maybe. That might help.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that should be better. I think the camera tends to cause a bad connection. So back to what. So we were talking about world peace. So you were saying that's a utopia, yes?
Yeah, it's not very like read and like saying reality, but we should like work towards it, and I understand that.
Right. So I think, yeah, and I agree we should work towards world peace. And I think that when you look at the past crimes of U.S. presidents, a lot of what could be a big strive towards world peace is just reducing our foreign involvement in other countries. I mean, when you talk about Vietnam Vietnam never attacked us. We simply invaded Vietnam because we didn't want them to become communist. There really hasn't been a defensive war since World War II. And also when we're talking about the use of things like the CIA, which is the CIA destabilizes countries across the world by taking out their leaders and just installing ones that we like.
Well, it's because of how like we see like how we can make society better. We see it as if we put a whole bunch of capitalist societies in, we will make
right. Except for that it hasn't. So when we talk about someone like Pinochet was a dictator who was actually installed by the CIA. And when we're talking about Donald Trump almost started war with Iran back in January, but tensions with Iran have been flaring really since 1958 when President Eisenhower, I think, basically sent the CIA in to remove a secular leader a religious leader who said he was going to nationalize the oil industry in Iran. But then we sent in the CIA and toppled their leader, and that led to the Iran hostage situation back in the 1980s. And ever since then, really, tensions have been growing with Iran. So we didn't make situations better across the world. I mean, when we're talking about during the Cold War, Ronald Reagan funded the Mujahideen to fight the Soviet Union, and the leader of the Mujahideen was Osama bin Laden.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about, we're trying to make the world a better place, are we really,
you also
though?
gotta look at like America, because this is the presidency of the United States. How is American lives getting better?
Yeah, exactly. And when we're talking about, let's talk about how war crimes relate back to American presidents' war crimes relate back to how we view Americans. So, I mean, the Vietnam War, Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon both have committed war atrocities there in Vietnam. And I would argue that Vietnam really did nothing to help American society. I mean, Vietnam destabilized the great society that Lyndon Johnson set up by fighting poverty, and it sent hundreds of thousands of soldiers to die needlessly.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about the betterment of America, and when we're talking about can a president be good and a war criminal, I would argue no, because a war criminal, you're waging war, which hurts our country and the country that we're invading.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is why. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. Keep on going.
And also, it should be mentioned, I'm applying this standard to presidents pre-World War II in the Nuremberg trials because
Wait, pre or post?
post World War II. I'm not
Okay.
applying because of ex post facto laws, because the Nuremberg trials were those rulings and precedents were set during the Nuremberg trials, and wouldn't be fair to apply them to actions that former presidents took before then.
When I say like when I bring up like America, I mean like the economy, how people are doing and stuff. Like, let's look at Obama. He was a war criminal. He waged war against the Middle East. But also look at America.
Right.
How
So
much better we're doing.
America under Obama, let's talk about that for a second. So Obama, yes, he pulled us out of the recession, but did he do it in a good way? I would argue no. Obama only prosecuted one banker in the 2008 financial crisis. The jobs that he created were often part-time or contract jobs.
But it set us on the right track.
It really didn't, though, because the economy still isn't good, because when we're talking about the fact that 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck, when we're talking about the fact that more than 50% of people can't afford a $500 an unexpected $500 medical emergency, I would argue that's no sign of a good economy.
Well, isn't that better than not having a job at all?
Yeah, sure it is, but that shouldn't be the goal. And when we're talking about, and also when we're talking about how people are doing in the economy and how it relates to a president and the wars they wage, the U.S. has one of the highest homeless veteran populations in the country. So when we're talking about a president who commits war crimes, that is inherently disenfranchising some of the most committed citizens of our country.
Yeah.
So, and when we're talking about can a president be good and a war criminal, we have to start applying the world stage's standards, like the UN standards, to our own presidents. Otherwise, how are we better than the bad guys? Or the quote-unquote bad guys?
You mean those standards?
Like things like how someone got prosecuted for the Nuremberg trials. In the Nuremberg trials, if a soldier's actions were responsible, a leader was responsible for their soldiers' actions. So if their soldiers committed a war atrocity, their leader was culpable. And many Japanese and German leaders
I don't think it should be like that.
Well, that's just how it is. Those are the precedents that were set during the Nuremberg trials. And when we're talking about war crimes, Donald Trump, it's really interesting. No one really talks about this. Donald Trump, his first military operation as president, it killed an 8-year-old American girl in the Middle East.
Well, was there any reason?
No, she was just a civilian casualty.
No, like what was it? No, like what led up to that?
It was just Donald Trump conducting a standard military operation in the Middle East. There was no it wasn't some huge
what was
thing.
The operation for?
It was, I think it was to attack ISIS.
So there was reason behind it.
There was reason behind it, sure, but ISIS is also our fault, really, because ISIS is a spawn.
Well, that's not really Trump's fault.
No, it's not Trump's fault. It's America's fault.
He's basically handling a problem he was given.
No, but but that's my point. Is that Trump promised to pull us out of the Middle East, but he hasn't. So that's the first thing. And B, ISIS.
You're breaking up.
Am I? Is that better?
Yeah. Okay. That's
okay.
Better.
Trump promised to pull us out of the Middle East, and he hasn't. And B, when we're talking about ISIS is our fault because ISIS was a direct result of the Iraq War, and the Iraq War was waged unjustly. Iraq War was a war that we relied into.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about a president and his war crimes and how it affects the American people, because of George Bush's actions and his war crimes,
that affects like Obama and like Trump.
I'm sorry?
That would like lead to like affecting Obama and Trump and stuff.
Yeah, it would, but also those presidents had the power to stop it. Those presidents had the power to just pull out of the
really.
Of course they did. They could have pulled troops out of the Middle East.
No, because think about the country. Would the country really want you to just pull out the Middle East?
The country never wanted us there in the first place.
Well, in 2004.
Sure,
We all have to.
in 2001, when George Bush was drumming up lies about about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction, yeah, sure, the country wanted us there, but a recent poll showed that I think less than 25% of the American people think that we should still be in the Middle East. So,
Well, we don't
and
want to
when
look weak.
looking weak has nothing to do with it. When is looking weak ever actually backfired? When we try to flex our military might, it never actually works out for us. It never worked out for us in Vietnam. It didn't work out for us in Afghanistan. It didn't work out for us in Iraq. It has never worked out for us.
I guess you can put it like that.
So when we're talking about a president and their war crimes and can they be a good president and a war criminal, the answer should inherently be no, because their actions of war crime inherently makes us the bad guy. And perception is reality for a lot of countries, a lot of foreign countries.
But you're like mixing up being a good like world leader.
But an American president has to be a good world. American president has to be. Of course they do. America's actions inherently affect the rest of the world.
Think about it. Ronald Reagan is a total piece of shit, but he's a good American president.
How is he a good American president?
Oh, look at the economy.
Ronald Reagan started the trend of supply side economics, which has never benefited the working class.
It sucked ass, but people love
it.
But
that doesn't lead to a good economy. Just because the GDP is high, and just because the stock market is high, and just because unemployment is low is a somewhat good indicator, but it doesn't indicate a good economy, and it doesn't indicate how good people are living in an economy.
And also, he created like the second most jobs, I believe.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan created jobs, but once again, those jobs weren't that good. Ronald Reagan was one of the first presidents to start the trend of stagnant wages. Wages since Ronald Reagan's economy have only risen 9.1%, while productivity has risen 73%. And that has a large part to do with Ronald Reagan's supply side economics. And Ronald Reagan is one of the worst war criminals of any president ever.
Yeah, but when we make a list of like greatest presidents, we still put him up like pretty high up there.
No, you might. I certainly do not. He's in he's in one of my bottom like 10.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Ronald Reagan is not a good person. Ronald Reagan is a war criminal.
He's not a good person.
Ronald Reagan is a war criminal whose economy did not benefit the working class at all. And Ronald Reagan sold weapons to the Taliban in the Iran-Contra scandal.
I know.
So when we're talking about a war criminal, I mean, and whether a president can be a good president and a war criminal, our actions affect the rest of the world and the citizens of the world.
Yeah, you're making it seem like they're just being a bad world leader. But
a president is a world leader. I mean, if America's actions...
Yeah, they can still be
one of the
presidents... you can still be good on at the United States, but be bad on a global stage.
But the bad on the global stage inherently hurts the United States. That's the thing.
But United States?
Being bad on the world stage, waging unnecessary wars, hurting diplomatic relationships, all of these things hurt the United States and its people. So when we're talking about... Sorry, go ahead.
But how good will the American people do under them?
The American people can't be a president's only concern, especially in America.
Well, it has to be like their main.
It really can't be.
Because think about it, those president mostly has to focus on the people of their country. I'm not saying they shouldn't give a shit about anyone else, but their main focus should be the people of that country.
Sure, their main focus should be their own people, but at the same time, when we're talking about has a president committed a war crime or multiple war crimes, and whether that makes them a good president, we have to remember that what we do around the world affects us back here at home. So inherently being a good world leader does affect us in our own country. So, and whether a president, for example, like Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, he led a major bombing campaign and killed 1,500 civilians in Serbia over 78 days. I mean, he killed 1,500 civilians, and that hurts how the world views us.
Yeah, but you also gotta see how was Americans doing at that time.
Right, and how Americans are doing. Americans are 300 million people. The president's actions affect 6.7 billion more. So when we're talking about can a president be a good?
Or how many? Oh no, keep on going. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Just go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so my point is that American exceptionalism and American imperialism is inherently tied to the president's war crimes. And American exceptionalism, American imperialism, I would argue, is the greatest threat to not only the world, but also to ourselves. I mean, when we're talking about the Vietnam War and the war crimes committed in Cambodia by Nixon, the Vietnam War led to a stagnant economy for decades. So inherently, being a good world leader and how we view the other countries of the world does affect us here at home. And how citizens were doing in America under certain presidents is directly related to how were other citizens doing as a result of our actions. So that's why I say a president can't be good and a war criminal, because not only are they hurting citizens around the world, there's no accountability. That's the big problem. There's zero accountability.
Well, from the American people?
From the American people, from the UN, from people around the world.
Oh yeah, because we get a little bit more leeway.
Right, and that's the problem. Our sense of exceptionalism when it comes to holding our leaders accountable is extremely dangerous. It leads to the formation of insurgency groups and terrorist groups that ultimately lead to harming American citizens and American troops.
Now, what if the U.S. just never gets involved?
The U.S. never gets involved. If the U.S. never gets involved, that's fine.
What if some terrorist group took over Iraq?
If some terrorist group took over Iraq, that doesn't mean that the U.S. should be the world police.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's the U.S.'s... Sorry, go ahead.
You don't think like we should do something? You don't think we should, kind of do something?
I don't think we as a country should be acting as the world police and the vigilante of the world. I don't think that we should be acting without the consent of countries around the world if we decide to wage a war. Because if a country doesn't attack us directly, there is no reason for our country to do it alone.
It's kind of like our duty as like a world leader. We should go and.
So then why doesn't France go invade Iraq? Why doesn't Britain go invade Iraq?
Because it's France compared to the United States.
Right, but we're both world leaders, right?
Well,
why does it have to be us?
Because it's the United States.
Right. Are you talking about our military might? Are you talking about our economic power? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we have like the biggest military.
Yeah, that's a bad thing, dude.
I feel like
that's a terrible thing.
Yeah,
our military. Do you know how big our military is? Our military, and if you
700 billion.
Yeah, it's like 730 billion. And when you take a list of the top spending military countries in the world, we spend more than the next 10 countries combined on that list. Combined.
Yeah.
And most of those countries are allies like Britain, France, and Germany. And what that military does is it gives us the excuse to go and continue American imperialism.
But you don't think we should go out there and help?
There's a difference between going out there and helping and going out there and killing civilians, which is what we do in
What's your
American
view on it?
imperialism. Never have we gone into a
Wait,
country.
was just going out there and killing civilians, or was it you went out to go kill terrorists and civilians got killed?
That shouldn't be the two options. The option should be let other countries
No, I'm
handle
saying
their.
which one was it?
It was probably
Did
the
they go
second
out
one.
to go?
It was
What, to go
probably the second
kill
one, but at the
terrorists?
same time, that justification of we were going after terrorists has almost never been true. It's just
What do you
it's
mean
just
by
a fact.
that?
I mean, the Iraq War was started because George Bush and Dick Cheney were telling us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We didn't want those in the hands of a dictator. And then we go in there, we topple Saddam Hussein, we kill him, and 4 years later we find out that Saddam Hussein had no weapons of mass
You're
destruction whatsoever.
breaking up. Oh,
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Saddam Hussein.
I'm sorry, you cut out there a lot.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, really? Wait.
Yeah, we
can you hear
went.
me now?
Yeah, we went. Yeah, I can hear you. We went into Iraq on the idea that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and then we toppled the country, destabilized the entire Middle East, only to find out that George Bush and Dick Cheney were lying to us. So I
Yeah, that's
ask
like one
you,
example.
that's a huge
You can't
example.
say that's all of them.
The Iraq War has led to 2 million civilian deaths, and that number is still going up.
Mhm.
And when we're talking about things like Ronald Reagan and the Iran Contras, and the Contras in Nicaragua. I mean, Ronald Reagan funded an insurgency group there under the guise of American freedom, and we ended up funding a terrorist group.
Yeah, bad stuff happens sometimes.
No, that stuff happens all the time. The U.S. has almost never been a force for good. The U.S. has been a force for imperialism.
Well, we believe spreading our ideas is helping these countries.
Really, it has.
No, I'm
spreading.
saying that's what, as a country, that's what we believe in.
No, that's what the military-industrial
We
complex
believe if
has
we can-
convinced us of.
No, I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm just saying, as a country, that's what we believe in.
Okay, if that was true, then why do less than 25% of the country think that we should still be in the Middle East? Why, after two-thirds of the way through the Vietnam War, approval rating of the Vietnam War was at 40%?
Because people change their minds a lot.
Yeah, people change their minds a lot, and that's the problem. When we're talking about can a president be a good president and a war criminal, often the amount of times that someone has been a war criminal, they've lied to the U.S. people about their involvement in foreign countries.
Mm-hmm.
I ask you, what kind of president is a good one that lies to their people about what they're doing with the military?
If the standard of living in that country got better.
If the standard of living in a country got better, but we killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in a different country.
No, not that country. I'm talking about in America.
I know what you're saying. I'm saying what good is it if standard of living increased and unemployment and GDP, if unemployment decreased and GDP increased, but at the same time we just bombed 200,000 civilians in Iraq or 1,500 civilians in Serbia? What good does that do us as a country?
Because American lives got better.
How did American lives? How do American lives get better if our involvement in another country?
That's not the only thing.
What do you mean that's not the only thing?
That's not the only thing. Yeah, this isn't the only thing that goes into a presidency.
What's not? Whether they're a war criminal or not?
Yeah.
Of course it's not the only thing, but it should be one of the biggest considerations because there are two types of main policies that a president has: foreign and domestic. And war criminals directly fall under foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be one of the main things, whether or not they were a good world leader, whether or not they were a war criminal should be on high consideration of whether they were good president or not, because their actions affected the rest of the world and us directly.
But don't you think we should like kind of like, you know, lean towards what's happening in this country as like a main thing?
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm very isolationist. But the problem is the presidents of the past are not very isolationist. I do think we should lean towards more, but when we have a $730 billion military, and when we have presidents that think that is their right and their duty to go into other countries and tell them what to do with military force and commit war crimes, even if they do commit war crimes, that does not help the American people.
Well, we see it as helping those people over there.
How is when name one time since name one time since World War II.
That's what we see it as.
Okay, but that's what we see is not reality. That's the problem.
No, I'm saying that's what they see it as. We are trying to go over there and help them. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's how we see it.
Okay, so because they see it that way, that means it's inherently a good thing?
No, I'm saying I'm just trying to put reasoning into it.
Okay, but that's the thing. There is no reasoning to it. There is only...
Well, yes, there is. We see it as we are trying to spread American values.
Okay.
That's
the Iran-Contra scandal, for example. Ronald Reagan said we were helping to spread freedom in South America, when in reality we were selling weapons to the Taliban.
Yeah.
It has almost never been about freedom. It has almost never been about American ideals. We overthrew Iran in 1958 with the CIA because we wanted oil. We invented Iraq because we wanted oil.
Mm-hmm.
We invaded Vietnam to help feed the military-industrial complex. It has almost never been about freedom. And the sooner that we start holding our presidents accountable as the war criminals that they are, the sooner our country will be for the better.
But aren't they just going to still be war criminals?
Sure, they'll still be war criminals because of the actions they've committed in the past. But if we start holding our leaders...
And also, how will you like rank a president?
How would I rank a president?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take in whether...
They're all bad.
I am saying they're all bad. They're different degrees of bad, but I do think they're all bad.
So, like, you're mean like they're still like on different tiers. You just believe morally they're bad people.
Yeah, I mean, they're bad. I think they're bad presidents and their actions were not for the benefit of society. But at the end of the day, some presidents were worse than others. I have no problem admitting that.
So, like, no matter what, once you commit like a war crime, you believe you can't be good.
Yeah, you can't be good because you're inherently saying that because of American exceptionalism, if you commit a war crime, American exceptionalism dictates that you shouldn't be held accountable. And that leads to more imperialism and destroying lives around the world and here at home.
But didn't you say even if we did hold them accountable, they would still be war criminals?
No, I'm saying that, okay, if we decided to put Donald Trump on trial for being a war criminal, he would still be a war criminal. His actions wouldn't change, but I'm saying that if we start holding our leaders accountable and our presidents accountable, then we can start having our country will be for the better and we will see it benefits. Even if presidents do commit war crimes, holding our presidents accountable lowers a sense of American exceptionalism, which ultimately will lead to less imperialism.
Wait, you're saying put them on trial?
Yeah, if they're a war crime, then inherently means they're criminal. So what do you do to criminals? Put them on trial.
So you would put an American president on trial?
Yes, 100%.
Really?
Yep. Because they are not above the law and they are not above the American people. If a soldier committed a war crime, they would be kicked out of the military and would face potential military justice. The same should go for our presidents because they are not above us. Our presidents are not better than us. Our presidents are not inherently more moral than us. Our presidents are us.
You don't kind of feel like we should give like some leeway to a president?
Nope, none whatsoever. If they commit a war crime, they have killed civilians or they have committed atrocities on the battlefield so horrible to name, and there's no reason they should be exempt from their actions. Just because they're the president, we elected them, doesn't mean they're not accountable.
So, like, impeachment.
Yeah, you could impeach them. I definitely believe impeachment should be an option for war crimes.
So,
100%.
but when that kind of, how do you think Americans would feel about that if every single time they elect a president, they just be put on trial?
I don't know. I feel like the American people might be a little bit grateful that we don't have a war criminal in office. But I do, for me, this isn't this isn't a specific plan I have. This is just like an ideal future. I don't imagine in a realistic world. No, I don't think presidents will actually be impeached for war crimes, although I do think they should be. But the point is that accountability to the American people is one of the main functions of the Constitution. But now, when we're talking about war crimes, all of a sudden that's gone out the window. And presidents
but don't you like... Oh, no, Mike.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like, don't you think it would kind of like be, no offense, but American people probably won't give a shit as much if you told them a president was committing atrocities in the Middle East?
No, they probably won't, but that's not the point. It doesn't matter to me what the American people think. It's that, American people also once thought... American people also once thought that women couldn't vote or shouldn't be able to vote. Just because public opinion leans one way now doesn't mean it can't change.
There's a lot of people who wanted women to vote.
But that's not the point. The point is there was a point in this country where people thought it was okay for segregation to exist. People thought it was okay for gays not to be able to get married. This idea that, because the American people don't like it, that doesn't mean we shouldn't push for it. It's just not how history works.
Kind of have like a bad effect on America, like the people, if their president's going on trial each time.
They wouldn't have to go on trial if they didn't commit war crimes.
Well, you said like they'll probably gonna keep on doing it.
Yeah, if a president keeps on committing war crimes, then yeah, they'll. In my ideal world, they would keep keep getting put on trial. So,
don't you feel like that's why like we only really put presidents like for impeachment? They have like high crimes because really.
Yeah, I would consider a war crime a high crime.
No, like because we don't want to like keep on wasting times with these trials. They still have a job.
Impeachment was a process designed to hold our president and other elected officials accountable if they committed other high crimes and misdemeanors. And the fact that through various types of propaganda, the military-industrial complex has numbed the minds of the American people to our atrocities in the Middle East by simply saying, we're America, we have to do this. That doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be holding our leaders accountable. I think that if we drone strike a country and it kills 20 civilians and the president knew it would kill 20 civilians, I believe we should put that person on trial.
Well, what was the reason they did it?
The reason they did it, that's what we find out in trial. That's my point. Because oftentimes these leaders are lying under the guise of terrorism. We have to protect ourselves against terrorism and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think that when we're talking about if a president can be good and a war criminal, I believe the answer is no, because a president is not above us. And when a president commits a crime, this idea that, just because they're the president, we don't want to disrupt the balance of the country, we don't want to do whatever. The president can't be good and evade justice simply because they're the president.
I guess I can see your point there.
Okay, I think... Go ahead. This will be the last point before we move on to the Q&A.
Okay. But I'm saying, like, I can't, like, just say they was a war criminal and ignore, like, all the other good stuff that happened through the presidency. That's my whole problem with saying they can't.
I don't think that you ignore... I don't think you ignore the things that they did during their presidency. But when we're saying, was a president good and did they provide a net positive for society? If they're a
Well,
war
no, I'm saying
criminal,
like a net positive for America. That's how I
America,
see it.
I don't think they can be. I don't think it can be a net positive because while they might have done positive things, if they're a war criminal, they have spread American imperialism. And if they have spread American imperialism, that hurts America.
But would it be able to be as bad as the good stuff they did?
Yes, that would be as bad, even worse.
Or it depends on the president.
No, I really don't think it does. I think that as long as we
There's different
continue
levels of stuff.
yeah, obviously dropping a
So
nuclear bomb would be
hold up.
different than a standard airstrike. But at the end of the day,
Yeah, so like say if someone
sorry, go ahead.
So like say a president, he bombed the fuck out of a like hospital, but he
Sure.
also got us out like a Great Recession. Would you then say he can't be a good president because he bombed that hospital?
Yes,
no matter
because the
how
bombing of the hospital is part of a greater trend of American imperialism, American exceptionalism, and colonialism. And
But
that trend ultimately hurts America more than it helps, more than any domestic policy could help.
But those all those other good things they did.
Yeah, sure, they might have done good things. But at the end of the day, if they are a war criminal, that means that they are evading accountability, they are evading justice on a national and international stage, and they are hurting American lives here at home. They are hurting American soldiers abroad.
But they also helped American lives.
They might have helped American lives, but it couldn't have been as great. It couldn't have been
that's
as
your view on it.
No, that's American. This whole idea
how
that
do you know
this whole idea that
that
if they did good things here, that means that the bad things they did abroad are erased or somehow counteracted. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How much good did they do here compared to how much bad they did over there?
I believe that no president has ever done so much good here that is able to erase the war crimes that they've committed abroad. And no president ever will. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe ever any president, if they commit a war crime, could have done so much good here that it erases the damage it did to our reputation, the damage it did to that country, and the damage it did to our citizens here at home. I don't believe there is any positive amount of positive effects that could have done. That could have erased that badness.
President ended a Great Depression, American lives got crazy better, but they also bombed two countries. You would say it doesn't matter how good those American lives got.
That never will happen. That's the thing. Never will happen. As long as because if a country is in a Great Depression, the idea that we're also going to be conducting foreign imperialism at the same time is rather preposterous. Every single policy that
just answer it.
I'm saying there's a reason that's a hypothetical. It's because hypotheticals aren't reality. No, I'm not going to answer that question because it's not an actual reality that a president could be in a Great Depression.
Said, like, no matter what, they would.
No matter what, in a realistic sense. If somehow a president was able to have full unemployment, raise the wages so much that there was no poverty, but they bombed one country, yes, that would probably outweigh that. But there's a reason that is hypothetical. There's a reason that
you have like a higher standard than most people.
Yes, I do. I do have a higher standard. I don't believe that our presidents should be committing atrocities around the world, but that yet we excuse them because they lowered the unemployment and raised the stock market.
Yeah, because that helped America. We're usually going to lean towards what happened in America more.
I mean, there have been plenty of people around the world that
the United States.
The president of the United States, but the president's of the United States actions affect more than just the people in the United States, but ultimately their foreign policy also affects the people in the United States.
Yeah, I'm saying we're going to really look at what happened in this country more than what happened in some Middle Eastern country when we're looking back on that presidency.
No, but we really shouldn't, though. That's the thing.
Really?
No, we
You don't think
shouldn't.
so?
We shouldn't. We shouldn't just whitewash our history, and we shouldn't just completely.
No, I'm not saying forget it. I'm just saying when looking back at it, we should
No, that's
probably
because that's the
focus.
American exceptionalism. That's the
No,
American
it's just
exception.
living in the country.
Of course, that when you're looking at a president's policies, you look at how they help their people. But when you look at
Yeah.
how their, especially in America, how their policies were conducted abroad, those policies affect the American people.
But would it affect them as much?
Yes, it 100% would.
As
ISIS,
much as what's
ISIS
happening
is a
in that
direct.
country?
For example, ISIS is a direct result of our invasion of Iraq, which was founded on unjust reasoning, and ISIS committed terrorist attacks here in the U.S. And
Yeah, does
our
that affect
soldiers are
us as
and our soldiers are still in the Middle East because of our imperialism and our sense of American exceptionalism.
but does that affect us as much as the economy and stuff?
Of course it does. War is inherently tied to the economy. And a president's war crimes
know that.
and a president's actions on a foreign stage do affect the way we live and act and interact here at home.
Yeah, but as much as what they're doing over here?
Yes. 100%. The Vietnam War, for example, hurt our country just as much as it hurt the citizens of Vietnam when it came to our economy versus how we killed their citizens. I mean,
So you believe like foreign policies go and play as much as a role?
no, I believe foreign
Like
policies play just as big a role as domestic policies.
Oh, that's the difference between me and you. I believe domestic policies will play more of a role.
Okay.
Than
Jalen, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but this is about the 52-minute mark. So that means I'm going to move on to the Q&A section. People in the audience, if you have any questions for myself or for Jalen, go ahead. Ask away. Make sure they're actual questions. This is from Crazy Beard, one of the founders of our Hype House. Jalen, how did you think you did today?
pretty good. It's only like my third debate of ever.
That's good. Well, yeah, you did a fine job.
I just like having fun.
Yeah, me too. I got work at 4:45, so I got to get ready for that soon. All right, guys, keep the questions going. They can be addressed to me. They can be addressed to Jalen. They can be addressed to both. Make sure they're actual questions. What else do you guys got? Let's see here. Okay. This is from Hunger Rai. Who is your favorite president, Jalen?
Oh, that's so fucking hard. I'm just gonna do modern day presidents because honestly, can't really pick one.
Sure.
That's like pre-World War II.
Sure.
Fuck. I honestly can't pick one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a favorite president. I would have to say Lincoln if I had one. Just because of his.
No, I'm like thinking like post like World War II.
Oh, post World War II presidents.
Yeah, I can't
probably. Think of one. I don't like any of them. Jonah, who is the worst president in your opinion? George Bush. George Bush or Andrew Jackson.
Really?
George Bush killed so many people.
What about James Buchanan?
James Buchanan was bad. Also, Andrew Jackson had the Trail of Tears.
Because I can't like think of anything James Buchanan did.
Well, I mean, I don't really know that much about James Buchanan, to be honest. But Bush lied us directly into Iraq, caused a recession, privatized a part of
other things that went into the recession. Oh, there's other things, and I kind of feel bad for George Bush.
I feel no sympathy for George Bush whatsoever.
Think about it. The second he comes into office, a few months later, 9/11 happens.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, 9/11 happened, but also 9/11 was also partially our fault because we gave funding to Osama bin Laden back in the Cold War, which gave him status.
It's not really his fault.
No, it's not his fault, but he also lied us into Iraq, so that's his fault. For Jalen, are you a liberal or what do you identify as politically?
I guess I would. I guess I would identify myself as a liberal.
Who are you voting for? In
Oh,
this
I can't vote. But
if you
if I
could,
could, I would vote
vote,
for Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Interesting.
I would vote for Joe Biden.
Why?
I don't understand all the hate Joe Biden gets.
For me, it's because his solutions don't go nearly far enough to what we need.
Well, when I see that, I think would these things actually pass in, like, when I look at like voting and stuff, would these things actually pass in like Senate and stuff?
Yeah, that's
Like,
I think that's a fair question to ask, but I also think it's a fair question to ask of Joe Biden. I mean, Obama went into his presidency looking for the same public option that Joe Biden's looking for now, and Obama had a majority in the House and a super majority in the Senate of Democrats, and still wasn't
I
able to
believe he
get.
didn't push hard enough.
Sorry?
I believe Obama didn't push hard enough.
Yeah, I mean,
but I believe Joe can get those people.
I have my doubts. This is from Hungry Bride. Thoughts on gun control?
The problem with gun control in America is that we'll have like one state like Illinois with like strong gun laws, and every single state beside them has like weak ones. So like you need to have them like national.
Do you want stronger gun controls?
Do
you want stronger gun control laws or weaker gun control laws?
I'll say stronger, but like I believe they shouldn't just be left up to like the state. Well, like we have like one state with strong ones and one with like very weak ones. Then it's basically pointless.
Okay. Let's see. This is from Kobe. Favorite historical moment for me. If we're talking about like world history, probably like I like reading about ancient Greece and ancient Rome. But if we're talking about American history, I honestly like reading about the Progressive Era.
I don't know if this is because fourth grade. I just remember learning about the American Revolution, thinking that like how cool it was.
Yeah, American Revolution is pretty interesting. This is from Crazy Beard. Jalen, why do you like Bill Clinton?
It's more like a symbol of like bipartisanship.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like him.
Okay, Jalen, I'm gonna end this live stream. Jalen, it was great debating you. It was great talking to you. Guys, this video to the Socialist Type House audience, this video will be up on our YouTube in about 5 to 6 hours. Thank you all for Happy 4th of July. Thank you for coming. All right, we'll see you guys later.